Dramily.com, unlimited drama series.
The clock on my nightstand glowed 2:47 a.m. when Beth's phone buzzed against the marble surface. She didn't stir. Hadn't stirred much when I was around lately. I'm Jamie Parrish, 38 years old, owner of Parrish Industrial Electric, and apparently the kind of husband whose wife gets text messages at 3 in the morning. The phone buzzed again, then again. I rolled over, studying Beth's sleeping face in the dim light filtering through our bedroom curtains. 12 years of marriage, 2 daughters, a house worth more than most people make in a decade, and here I was, wide awake, listening to her phone receive messages from someone who clearly didn't respect normal sleeping hours. "Honey," I whispered, shaking her shoulder gently. "Your phone." She mumbled something incoherent and turned away from me, pulling the Egyptian cotton sheets up to her chin. The phone buzzed a 4th time. I reached across her and grabbed the device. The screen lit up, showing 3 messages from JN and 1 from Marywork. The preview text from JN made my stomach drop. "Can't wait for tonight. Jamie will never..." The message cut off there, but I'd seen enough. My hands trembled as I held the phone, staring at those words. Jamie will never what? Find out? Suspect? Matter? I glanced at Beth again. She was sleeping peacefully, her blonde hair spread across the pillow like she was posing for a magazine. Beautiful, successful, the kind of woman other men envied me for marrying. The kind of woman who apparently received late-night messages from someone with the initials JN. My brother Jonathan came to mind immediately. John. JN. My older brother, my business partner, the charming one who'd always gotten everything he wanted while I worked twice as hard for half the recognition. I slipped out of bed and padded barefoot to our walk-in closet, Beth's phone still in my hand. The passcode screen appeared when I tried to open it. I tried her birthday, nothing. Our anniversary, nothing. Then on a hunch that made my chest tight, I tried Jonathan's birthday. The phone unlocked. What I found in the next 10 minutes changed everything. Messages going back months, photos I wish I'd never seen, plans made behind my back, jokes at my expense, my wife and my brother laughing about my boring life, my predictable routines, my old-fashioned values. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how long it had been going on, how stupid I'd been. How many times I'd defended Beth when my sister Connie suggested she seemed distant. How many times I'd covered for John when he missed important business meetings. I scrolled through message after message, each one a small knife twist. Beth complaining about our stale marriage. John reassuring her that soon they'd be together for real. Plans to meet at the Riverside Hotel. Discussions about how to handle the Jamie problem. The Jamie problem. That's what I'd become in my own life. I heard Beth shifting in bed and quickly closed the phone, setting it back on her nightstand. But as I climbed back under the covers, something else nagged at me. Marywork had also texted. Mary, Beth's best friend from the real estate investment firm where Beth worked as HR director. Mary, who'd been to our house dozens of times, who'd babysat our daughters, who'd consoled me when I worried about Beth's late nights at the office. Mary was in on it too. I lay there until dawn, staring at the ceiling, listening to Beth's steady breathing and planning. Because if there's one thing 20 years in the electrical contracting business teaches you, it's that every system has vulnerabilities, every circuit has a breaking point, every fault line, when pressure builds up enough, eventually gives way. And I was done being the Jamie problem. When Beth's alarm went off at 6:30, she rolled over and smiled at me. The same smile she'd been giving me for 12 years. The one I'd thought meant she loved me. Now I knew better. "Morning, honey," she said, stretching like a cat. "Sleep well?" "Like a baby," I replied, matching her smile with one of my own. "You?" "Oh, you know me. Out like a light." She reached for her phone, checking it quickly before setting it aside. "Big day today. That Henderson project is finally moving forward." The Henderson project. I'd heard her mention it before, always with the same secretive tone. Now I wondered if Henderson was even a real client, or just another code word for her afternoon meetings with my brother. "That's great, honey. Really great." I sat up, stretching my arms above my head. "You know what? I think I'll stop by the office early today. Get a jump on those Riverside contracts. Her smile faltered for just a second. The Riverside contracts? Yeah, John mentioned them yesterday. Said we might need to do some site visits this week. I watched her face carefully. Probably spend some time at that new hotel they're wiring. Beth's face went pale, but she recovered quickly. Oh, right. Well, you boys have fun with that. Boys. She called us boys, like we were children playing games instead of grown men running a multi-million-dollar business, instead of her husband and her lover. After Beth left for work, I sat in my kitchen, drinking coffee from a mug that read World's Best Dad, a Father's Day gift for my daughters, Emma and Sophie, ages 10 and 8. They were still asleep upstairs, innocent and unaware that their world was about to change. I pulled out my own phone and called my foreman, Nate Rivers. Nate had been with Parrish Industrial for 15 years, since back when my father ran the company. He was loyal, street smart, and had a talent for finding out things people didn't want found out. Boss, Nate's gravelly voice answered on the second ring. Kind of early, even for you. I need you to do something for me, Nate. Something unofficial. A pause. No, what kind of unofficial? The kind where you follow someone and tell me where they go, who they meet, what they do. Another pause, longer this time. This about Mrs. Parrish? Nate was sharper than most people gave him credit for. What makes you ask that? Boss, I've been watching you for 15 years. I know when something's eating at you. And I know when a woman starts staying late at the office every night. It ain't usually about work. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of having my suspicions confirmed by someone else. Can you do it? Consider it done. But boss, whatever you're planning, just remember, some bridges, once you burn them, there's no going back. Maybe that's the point, Nate. After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my kitchen, looking around at the life Beth and I had built together. The granite countertops she'd insisted on, the custom cabinets I'd installed myself, the family photos covering the refrigerator, all of us smiling and happy and completely fake. My phone rang. John's name appeared on the screen. Little brother! His voice was too cheerful, too forced. How's the morning treating you? Can't complain. You? Oh, you know me. Living the dream. He laughed, and I wondered how many times I'd heard that laugh while he was planning to destroy my life. Hey, I was thinking we should grab lunch today. Catch up on some business stuff. Business stuff. Right. Sure, John. Where did you have in mind? How about that place downtown, near the Riverside Hotel? My grip tightened on the phone. Perfect. See you there. After I hung up, I realized something had shifted inside me. The hurt was still there. The betrayal still burned, but underneath it all was something else. Something cold and calculating and patient. I'd spent my whole life being the responsible one, the reliable one, the one who cleaned up other people's messes. I'd let John take credit for my ideas, let him charm clients while I did the actual work, let him be the face of the company while I handled the details that actually mattered. And Beth, beautiful, ambitious Beth, had looked at both of us and chosen him. Chosen the flash over the substance, the charm over the character, the easy smile over the steady hand. Well, they deserved each other, and they were going to get exactly what they deserved. I went upstairs to wake up Emma and Sophie, kissing their foreheads and helping them get ready for school like I did every morning. They chattered about their friends and their classes and their plans for the weekend, and I listened to every word, storing up these moments before everything changed. Because Nate was right. Some bridges, once burned, there's no going back. But sometimes, when the bridge is rotten and the foundation is cracked and the whole structure is ready to collapse anyway, the only sensible thing to do is light the match yourself and make sure you're standing on the right side when it all comes down. Lunch with John was exactly what I expected. A performance. He sat across from me at Romano's, gesticulating with his fork, as he talked about expansion plans and new contracts, his expensive watch catching the light every time he moved his hands. Everything about my brother was expensive these days. The watch, the suit, the car parked outside. All paid for with money from our family business, the one our father had built from nothing and left to both of us. The Riverside project is going to be huge, Jamie. Huge. John leaned forward, his eyes bright with enthusiasm that I now knew was probably about something else entirely. We're talking about wiring that entire new hotel complex, plus the shopping center they're planning next door. Sounds promising, I said, cutting into my sandwich. You've been spending a lot of time on site surveys lately. Well, you know how it is. These big clients need hand-holding, FaceTime. They want to see that we're committed. He grinned. Beth mentioned you might want to come along on some of the site visits. Beth mentioned. Of course she did. I wondered what else Beth had mentioned to my brother during their intimate conversations. That's thoughtful of her, I replied. Though I'm surprised you two talk about work so much. John's smile flickered. Oh, you know, she stops by the office sometimes when you're out on jobs. We chat about this and that. This and that. I nodded slowly. She's always been friendly. Yeah, Beth's great. You're a lucky man, little brother. The way he said it made my skin crawl. Lucky. Right. My phone buzzed with a text from Nate. Package delivered to your office. Private. Excuse me, I told John. Work emergency. I need to head back. No problem, I'll grab the check. John was already reaching for his wallet, probably eager to get back to whatever afternoon plans he had. Plans that likely involved my wife. Thanks. And John? We should do this more often. Really catch up. Absolutely. Family's important, right? Family. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Back at Parrish Industrial Electric, I found Nate waiting in my office with a manila envelope and a grim expression. Our offices were located in a converted warehouse on the industrial side of town. Nothing fancy, but functional. The kind of place where real work got done, unlike the glass and steel towers where Beth spent her days. You're not going to like this, boss, Nate said, closing the door behind me. I already don't like it. Show me what you found. Nate opened the envelope and spread out a series of photographs across my desk. Time-stamped images of Beth and John entering the Riverside Hotel together. Beth's car parked next to John's at a restaurant across town. The two of them walking hand in hand through a park where they thought no one would recognize them. How long, I asked. Based on what I could track today, at least 6 months. Probably longer. Nate sat down across from me. Boss, there's more. He pulled out another set of photos. Beth and Mary, her friend from work, sitting in Beth's car in what looked like an intense conversation. Mary handing Beth what appeared to be documents. Your wife's friend has been helping, Nate explained, covering for her at work, providing alibis, probably feeding her information about your schedule. I studied the photos, feeling that cold calculation growing stronger inside me. What kind of information? The kind that would help someone know when you'd be out of town, when you'd be working late, when you'd be home early. Nate leaned back in his chair. Boss, I think they're planning something bigger than just an affair. What do you mean? Nate pulled out a final photograph. Beth and John sitting in a lawyer's office, papers spread out between them. I followed them yesterday afternoon. That's Harrison, Mitchell and Associates. Divorce lawyers. The expensive kind. The pieces clicked into place. Beth's recent interest in our financial records. John's questions about the business structure. The way both of them had been pushing me to update our wills and insurance policies. They're not just having an affair, I said quietly. They're planning to take everything. Looks that way. And with your wife working in HR, she knows exactly how to make you look bad in court. Harassment claims, hostile work environment, maybe even some creative accounting to make it look like you've been skimming from the business. I sat back in my chair, staring at the photographs. 12 years of marriage, 20 years of partnership with my brother. And it all came down to this. A carefully orchestrated plan to destroy me and take everything I'd worked for. There's something else, boss. Nate's voice was gentler now. I made some calls. Beth's been telling people around town that you've been difficult at home, controlling, angry. She's been laying groundwork, making you look like the bad guy before she even files papers. Controlling. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I work 60 hours a week to pay for her lifestyle. I take care of the kids when she's working late, and I'm controlling. That's not all. She's been talking to Emma and Sophie too, asking them questions about how daddy acts when mommy's not around, whether daddy ever gets mad, whether they'd rather live with mommy or daddy if something happened. The coldness inside me crystallized into something harder. She's using my daughters against me. I'm sorry, boss. I really am. I gathered up the photographs and slid them back into the envelope. Don't be sorry, Nate. Be ready. Ready for what? War. I looked up at him. Because that's what this is. They want to destroy me? Fine, but they picked the wrong man to underestimate. Nate grinned, and the first genuine smile I'd seen all day. What do you need me to do? First, I need you to document everything. Every meeting, every lie, every move they make. I want a paper trail that would make the IRS jealous. Done. Second, I need you to reach out to Carl Robertson. Tell him I want to have dinner this week. Somewhere private. Carl Robertson was our family's longtime attorney and my father's old...
She left this in your apron. You didn't even throw it away.
I forgot.
You forgot a woman's lipstick in your...
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
friend. More importantly, he was the one person who knew every detail of how Parish Industrial Electric was actually structured, including some provisions my father had put in place that John had never bothered to read carefully. And third, I need you to help me understand something. If someone wanted to hurt my family's business, what would be the best way to do it? Nate raised an eyebrow. You planning to sabotage your own company? No, but I'm planning to make sure the right person ends up controlling it when this is all over. After Nate left, I sat alone in my office, looking out at the warehouse floor where my employees were busy with their daily work. Good people, most of them. People who depended on Parish Industrial Electric for their livelihoods. People who deserved better than to be pawns in my brother's game. My phone rang. Beth's name appeared on the screen. Hi, honey, I answered, keeping my voice light and normal. Hi, how was lunch with John? Good, he's excited about the Riverside project. Oh, that's wonderful. He works so hard on these big clients. There was something in her voice. Pride, maybe. The kind of pride she used to have when talking about my accomplishments. He does. Very dedicated. I paused. Hey, I was thinking we should have him over for dinner this weekend. Maybe invite Mary too. Make it a real family gathering. Silence on the other end, then. That sounds, nice. But you know how busy everyone is. I'm sure they can make time. Family's important, right? Right, of course. I'll check with them. Great. Oh, and Beth, I love you. Another pause. I love you too, Jamie. But we both knew she was lying. After I hung up, I opened my laptop and started making lists. Financial records to gather, legal documents to review, people to contact, strategies to consider. Because if John and Beth thought they were playing chess while I was playing checkers, they were about to learn something important about their opponent. I'd been building electrical systems for 20 years. I knew how to trace every wire, identify every connection, and find every weak point in even the most complex network. And a conspiracy, when you really looked at it, was just another kind of circuit. With the right pressure applied at the right points, any circuit could be made to overload. The question wasn't whether I could bring down their carefully laid plans. The question was how spectacular I wanted the failure to be. Carl Robertson looked older than his 65 years as he sat across from me at Murphy's Steakhouse, but his eyes were still sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. He'd been my father's attorney for 30 years and had handled the transition of Parish Industrial Electric when Dad passed 5 years ago. If anyone knew the ins and outs of our business structure, it was Carl. Jamie, I have to ask, Carl said, cutting into his ribeye. Why all the sudden interest in the corporate bylaws? You've never cared about the legal minutia before. Let's just say I'm developing an appreciation for details. I slid a manila folder across the table. These are copies of everything Nate documented. I need you to tell me what my options are. Carl opened the folder and examined the photographs, his expression growing grimmer with each image. When he reached the pictures of Beth and John at the law office, he set down his fork entirely. How long has this been going on? At least 6 months, maybe longer. They're planning to file for divorce and somehow cut me out of the business. I leaned forward. But here's what I don't understand. John owns 49% of Parish Industrial Electric. I own 51%. How exactly do they think they can push me out? Carl was quiet for a long moment, studying the photographs. There are several ways, actually. If Beth can establish a pattern of erratic behavior, substance abuse, or financial impropriety, she could potentially get a court order freezing your assets during divorce proceedings. That would include your business shares. But I don't drink, I don't use substances, and I've never touched company money inappropriately. Doesn't matter if she can make it look convincing. And with her background in HR, she'd know exactly how to document a case. Carl closed the folder. But there's something else, something I think you've forgotten about. What? Your father's partnership agreement included some very specific clauses about moral turpitude and conduct detrimental to the business. If one partner can prove the other has engaged in behavior that damages the company's reputation or financial standing, I felt a cold smile spreading across my face. The offending partner forfeits their shares. Exactly. An adultery with a business partner's spouse would definitely qualify. Carl leaned back in his chair. The question is, can you prove it in a way that would hold up legally? I can prove it. The question is whether I want to destroy John or just neutralize him. What's the difference? Destroying him means he loses everything. His shares, his reputation, his future. Neutralizing him means he just loses his ability to hurt me. Carl studied my face carefully. You know, your father always said you were the one with the real steel in your spine. John had the charm, but you had the backbone. Dad said that? Many times. He worried about leaving the business to both of you, but he hoped you'd keep John in line. Carl signaled for the check. I think he'd be proud of how you're handling this. By planning to destroy my own brother? By protecting what he built? By making sure the right person controls the legacy he left behind? When I got home that evening, Beth was in the kitchen, helping Emma with homework, while Sophie practiced piano in the living room. The picture of domestic tranquility, if you didn't know what I knew. How was your day, honey? Beth asked, not looking up from Emma's math worksheet. Productive, very productive. I kissed the top of Emma's head. How's the homework coming, sweetheart? It's hard, Daddy. I don't understand fractions. Here, let me show you. I sat down next to my daughter and started explaining how fractions worked, how you could break something whole into smaller pieces, and how sometimes those pieces didn't add up the way you expected them to. Beth watched us with an expression I couldn't quite read. Guilt, maybe, or calculation. I talked to Mary about this weekend, she said casually. She's not sure she can make it to dinner. That's too bad. What about John? He said he'd try, but he's got some client meetings that might run late. Of course he did. Well, maybe we can do it another time, when everyone's schedules align better. That night, after the girls were asleep, Beth and I sat in our living room, pretending to watch television. She was texting on her phone, the same phone I'd unlocked 3 nights ago, the one full of messages from my brother. Beth, I said during a commercial break, can I ask you something? She looked up, and for a moment I saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. Of course. Are you happy? With us, I mean, with our marriage. The question seemed to catch her off guard. That's an odd question, Jamie. Why? I just feel like we've been distant lately. Like we're living separate lives under the same roof. She set down her phone and turned to face me fully. I think that's normal for couples who've been married as long as we have. We're both busy, we have responsibilities. Is there anything I could do differently to make you happier? For a moment, I thought she might tell me the truth. Her face softened, and she looked like the woman I'd fallen in love with 15 years ago. But then her phone buzzed, and the moment passed. You're a good husband, Jamie, a good father. I don't have any complaints. No complaints. Just plans to destroy my life and take my children. That's good to hear, I said, because I love our family. I'd do anything to protect it. Something in my tone must have registered because Beth's expression sharpened. Protect it from what? From anything that might threaten it. Anyone who might want to hurt what we've built together. We stared at each other across the coffee table, and I could see her trying to figure out how much I knew, how much I suspected. The conversation felt like a chess match, each of us probing for weaknesses while trying not to reveal our own strategies. I should get to bed, she said finally. Early meeting tomorrow. Another Henderson project meeting? Yes, it's complicated. Lots of moving parts. I'm sure you and John will figure it out. You two seem to work well together. Beth froze halfway to standing up. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that he speaks very highly of your input on the business side of things. Says you have good insights. Oh, right. She relaxed slightly. Well, good night. Good night, honey. Sweet dreams. After she went upstairs, I sat in the dark living room, thinking about everything Carl had told me, the moral turpitude clause, the evidence I'd need, the timeline for making my move. My phone buzzed with a text from Nate. They're meeting tomorrow afternoon. Riverside Hotel, room 412. Thought you should know. I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, Thanks. Time to end this. But first, I had one more call to make. I scrolled through my contacts and found my sister Connie's number. Connie was 2 years older than me, a successful attorney in her own right, and the one person in our family who'd never been charmed by John's smooth talk. Jamie, she answered on the second ring. It's late. Everything okay? Connie, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Okay, what's going on? Have you ever suspected that Beth was cheating on me? Silence on the other end, then. Oh, Jamie. I was wondering when you'd figure it out. You knew? I suspected. The way she talked about John at family gatherings, the way she looked at him, the way she always seemed to know things about the business that you hadn't told her. Connie's voice was gentle but firm. I'm sorry, I should have said something. With John? I wasn't sure, but yes. I thought it might be John. I closed my eyes. They're planning to divorce me and take the business. Those idiots. Don't they realize how the partnership agreement is structured? Apparently not. Carl thinks I can invoke the moral turpitude clause. You absolutely can, and Jamie, I think you should. Even if it destroys John? Especially if it destroys John. He's been riding your coattails his whole life, taking credit for your work, and now he's trying to steal your wife and your company. Connie's voice hardened. Some people need to learn that actions have consequences. After I hung up with Connie, I went upstairs and stood outside my daughter's rooms, listening to them sleep. Emma was snoring softly, and Sophie was talking in her dreams about something involving unicorns and ice cream. They deserved better than this, better than having their family torn apart by betrayal and greed, better than being used as weapons in their mother's war against their father. I was going to make sure they got better. Tomorrow, Beth and John would meet at the Riverside Hotel, probably to celebrate how well their plan was progressing. They'd congratulate themselves on how cleverly they'd manipulated the situation, how perfectly they'd positioned themselves to take everything I'd worked for. They had no idea that their celebration was about to become their funeral. Not literally, of course. I wasn't planning to hurt anyone physically, but metaphorically, professionally, financially, well, some lessons could only be learned the hard way, and class was about to begin. The next afternoon, I sat in my truck across the street from the Riverside Hotel, watching the entrance through binoculars. At exactly 2:15 p.m., Beth's silver BMW pulled into the parking lot. She was wearing the red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year, the one she claimed was too fancy for everyday wear. Apparently, afternoons with my brother didn't qualify as everyday. At 2:20, John's black Mercedes arrived. He parked 3 spaces away from Beth's car, close enough to be convenient, far enough apart to maintain the illusion that they weren't together. They'd done this before, many times. I watched them enter the hotel separately, 5 minutes apart, both checking their phones as they walked. Coordinated, professional. Like they were executing a business plan instead of destroying a family. My phone rang. Carl Robertson. Jamie, I've been reviewing the partnership documents more carefully. Carl's voice was tense. There's something else you need to know. What? The moral turpitude clause has a time limit. If you know about misconduct and don't act within 60 days, you forfeit your right to invoke it. My grip tightened on the phone. How long have I got? Based on when these photographs were taken, maybe 2 weeks, possibly less. That's not much time. No, it's not. But Jamie, there's something else. I did some digging into Beth's recent activities. She's been very busy. What kind of busy? The kind where she's been meeting with forensic accountants, private investigators, and at least 3 different divorce attorneys. This isn't just an affair, it's a coordinated campaign. I felt that familiar cold calculation settling over me. What else? She's been documenting everything: your work schedule, your interactions with employees, your financial decisions. She's building a case that you're an unfit business partner and an unstable husband. Based on what evidence? That's the thing. She doesn't need real evidence. She just needs to create enough doubt to freeze your assets and force you into a settlement. By the time the truth comes out, they'll have control of the business and custody of your daughters. I stared at the hotel entrance, imagining Beth and John upstairs, probably toasting their own cleverness. Carl, I need you to prepare the moral turpitude paperwork. All of it. I want to be ready to file the moment I have what I need. Jamie, are you sure about this? Once you pull this trigger, there's no going back. John will lose everything. John made his choice. Now I'm making mine. After I hung up with Carl, I called Nate. Boss? Are you in position? Yeah, I'm in the hotel lobby. Got a clear view of the elevators and the bar area. Good. I need you to go to room 412 in exactly 10 minutes. Knock on the door and tell them there's been a water leak in the room below, and hotel maintenance needs to check their bathroom. That'll get them out of the room. Long enough for what I need to do. Boss, what exactly are you planning? Insurance, I said. The kind that pays out when people make really stupid decisions. I ended the call and walked across the street to the hotel. The lobby was busy with afternoon check-ins and business meetings. I nodded to the desk clerk and walked confidently toward the elevators, like I belonged there. Room 412 was at